as Ralph shared, creating user experiences, right? As a consumer, we have a huge amount of expectation. But how is it to build them? And how is it to build them at scale, going out to the whole of the globe? It's not that easy. And I think anyone that's been involved with this for some time will appreciate how much effort and it is to do. But we love doing this stuff, right? This is what's fun for us. And so here at BJSS, with our clients such as Specsavers, we just really love working on these kind of projects. And we'd like to give a bit of a deep dive into how a project might look. How could you run a project? How could you run a project from a product perspective? How can you run it from an engineering perspective to actually get to the point where you can see some of these experiences go live in multiple markets and countries?
Thank you. So we'll start off with a bit of an intro. So good evening everyone, my name is Faye Longden and my role at the moment is Global Head of Product over the Socrates Cloud Evolution Programme. I've been at Specsavers for 15 years now and I've done a variety of different roles from IT support desk to training to product owner, and then finally ended up in my role as head of product for SCE for the last 2.5 years. My passion really is now, and what I found over that 15 years at Specsavers is very much around working with the businesses and the colleagues in store, just to really understand what are sort of the real key things that our colleagues need to be able to sort of serve our customers and give them the best care that's possible whilst with us in store. And over to you, Rich.
Yeah, so I'm Chief Engineer here at BJSS in Leeds, and as you can tell by my t-shirt, I'm a bit of a techie. This is an Akamai t-shirt, by the way. I think only the cloud people know what Akamai is. But anyway, yeah, and I really enjoy working on technical projects and you know, things like modern web standards, eventing patterns, HTTP focused pure RESTful APIs are really exciting, including GraphQL, etc. So that's what really floats my boat. But I love applying this stuff to these situations and working with the likes of Faye and co to kind of see some of these experiences come to life. So we're going to talk about what is Socrates and why does it need to go to the cloud? Faye, do you want to share a bit about how Specsavers works in store?
Will do. So just to give you a little bit of context about Specsavers as a business. So we are currently operating in 10 countries, and I will say I do tend to flex between countries and markets. So if I do say markets, I am referring to countries as we go through this. So those countries based on could be Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Northern Europe, and also closer to home, the UK and Ireland as we know today. What we tend to do is, and over the years of Specsavers being here, we've just celebrated our 40 years anniversary of Specsavers as a company, but we have sort of more accumulated sort of other businesses along the way and sort of opened up into those markets. What that's then brought with that is completely different technology stacks in each of those markets, completely different business teams that sort of run and operate those, and that comes with its own sort of challenges in itself. So actually what we've ended up now with is 10 markets, all with 10 different technology stacks and 10 different sort of teams that's looking after that. And that's proved quite a bit of a challenge for us in terms of now we are getting into the sort of business areas where we do want to flex more online and sort of be providing a consistent journey to customers over the globe. We're really finding that really challenging to do. You know, it's actually, it's costing us a lot of money to sort of be able to maintain and keep those up, but also from a customer's perspective, we want to maintain those standards everywhere, and that's proving to be quite a challenge to sort of maintain that at this moment in time. So that's where the Socrates Cloud Evolution Programme really started from. So as I've sort of touched upon today, you know, we've got varying different applications in those markets, all with different levels of capability as well. So that really causes a lot of problems for us as we've grown and sort of getting bigger in those markets, you know, to be able to sort of keep up with the customer volume and the expectation of those customers over that time has been really challenging. So we do see a very flex in terms of what that looks like in those markets. So what we decided to do is that we would come up with a plan that would sort of give us the opportunity to sort of have one consistent platform over all of those markets, and there where we could sort of flex with different capabilities depending on the need in those markets. What we also see in the sort of eye care industry is that it was very much tied to sort of regulatory requirements for each of those markets as well. So you'll know today we obviously have the NHS in the UK. We have varying different sort of models like that in each of those markets. So what we're trying to do is keep one sort of global platform that can cater and flex to those needs, to flex to what we need to do to keep compliant in all of those markets as well. So where we are at the moment is we've got a platform that we have built from a core, and we're sort of clear on what that core functionality needs to be. And then as we go further around the markets, we're sort of adding to that as we go to sort of really sort of make sure we're sort of catering for all of that requirement. Rich, over to you.
So there's few challenges with the architecture currently that there has been at Specsavers. It's completely decentralized. So if you think about a server and an instance of an application running per store, and then you think, yes, we're in 10, 12 markets, as Faye suggested, you're talking about thousands of instances of this app running. And so this was, of course, designed pre-cloud, and it probably started when Specsavers was growing. And they kept up with that growth. And now the cloud is here. It's now time to think about how to adopt that and see how we can get over some of these other problems, such as the syncing of data between these is really hard. Data governance is really hard. And that's going to be really important now for any strategic business, to have data driving what you're doing and to have a single control of that data. Releasing and versioning is really hard because you might release to some stores but not to others. And some stores might say, I want to have the newest version, and other stores say, no, I want to be in an older version. And then you get discrepancy there. And then also when they get a new version by surprise, you're going to get some shocked users. And again, users like to expect what they're going to be using. There's central visibility of the data, which we talked about, but also, focusing on the customer, focusing on the patient, focusing on clinical records is really important. There's a lot of regulatory requirements around that, and it was really hard to deal with that on an ad hoc basis when your data is so disparate. And then more recently, people expect online journeys to be really smooth and clear and easy. And that's really hard when you're trying to proxy into thousands of different apps to try and get the data in order to power your web experiences. So there's some of the challenges there that we had to overcome. So how do we go about gaining the insights? So we decided we need to change. We want to build this new platform, but how do we know what insights we should get in order to build the right thing? Because there's no point in spending a considerable amount of time, effort and money without building the right thing. It's so important to build the right thing. And so we undertook a discovery pathway where we're invested into really working out what the problems are that we want to solve. And that started over a timeline, and you can see here that there's, large programs are very complex. You've got a lot of different things happening at one time, but we see how we focus on a little bit of the engineering that we know we need to do, and then start looking at local discoveries. Then, out of the back of that, adding to some of the engineering scope of knowing what we need to then build. Then put a launch in for Republic of Ireland. Then through that learning, because when you're building something for the first time, you're learning as you go along. You don't know all the answers up the front. And so we try and, input agile principles to be able to learn on what we're doing. And then we realized that let's start looking at how we can make a single Specsavers customer standard journey. And then looking at more local markets, and then testing and iterating and building and supporting. So you've got that iterative process that's so important when trying to scale out. So At the beginning in these sections of the kind of discovery iterations, we need to understand that shift and the impact that it has on the program. We then need to, in the pre-discovery, look at about what is the future, what does it look like in terms of things like estimates, things like risks and RAID logs and keeping a good track of them. And then how do we then implement that into different markets? So there's a bit of an iterative process there, which really did work for us.
Just to add on what Rich has just spoken about there, I think one of the key differentiators from this programme to perhaps others that we've done at Specsavers in the past is what we would do is sort of treat those markets as they are today in sort of very separate businesses. We would go around and talk to each country, understand what they wanted, what they needed, and then we would sort of come back with a list of things, as long as our arms essentially, and things that we needed to do. And one of the things that we did do when we did this process was actually said, we're actually just going to chuck you all into the room together and we're going to find it out, and we're not leaving until we've all agreed on what this sort of customer journey looks like. Yes, we will respect those localizations that you need to be able to sort of trade in that market, but you absolutely need to sort of leave this room aligned and sort of ready to sort of stick with that. And that was something that we sort of was a sort of great sort of build for us now, because now we have those sort of people that are almost accountable now to keep that sort of journey as standard as possible and sort of really drive that through. So that was a fantastic build for us in terms of measure of success and how we've managed to sort of progress in this state. I touched a little bit on localizations there, and I think just to sort of bring some of those things to life, when we talk about localizations, people think, oh, that might be we're talking about a different language here, or it's not, but it could be that it's in a couple of the examples we've got on here is some like test room integrations. So when we go into the site test, and I'm sure you've all had your eyes tested recently, hopefully at Specsavers, but what we tend to have is that technology that's coming in now that allows us to sort of take the measurements and the sort of a view of your eye health and sort of integrate that into our patient management system to be able to sort of track that and keep hold of that. What we tend to say, and wouldn't it be great if we just had one machine that we use globally? Well, unfortunately, it's not that easy. So we do have different sort of tech in each of those markets that we need to integrate in to be able to sort of read that information and give that great quality of care. So that's an example of one of the localizations that we see. We also have things like the insurance. So, in the UK, we have the NHS who sort of provide to a certain point of to your glasses or to your sight test if you're eligible for that. We also have very similar sort of market, different sort of insurances in other markets as well. And each of those will come with its own. It might have something that's not integrated and it's a standalone piece that we need to go into, or it could be something that we do integrate into and we're getting information back from those insurances as well. So that all comes into the complexity that we're looking at when we're sort of looking at the localizations in the markets.
Yeah. Thank you. And so when we're then looking at how this experience looks for the optometrist, initially in MVP, we kept it exactly the same. So this isn't the old Socrates view. This is us then iterating on that. But it's so important for optometrists and professionals to be able to be efficient with their time, and that experience is so important for them. And so we really tried to keep that an experience that could make them effective. At the same time, we wanted to look at how we could bring in new improvements, etc. We also wanted to look at how we could introduce a design system to make developers a little bit more efficient. How can we reuse some of the components so that actually we're getting the benefits out of getting effective software engineering done and out of the door. But then also you've got to be careful that you don't over-reuse, because when you over-reuse some of the more complex stuff, you realize actually there's a whole bunch of cases that it's really hard to reuse things. So the more base the component is at the root atomic level, then the easier it is to reuse it, which is what we've based our design system on. I
think as well, just to add from me on on this slide, it was very much, again, from looking back at previous programmes we've run at Specsavers, we didn't really go down this sort of design-led route. So we would tend to sort of go out to colleagues, get their requirements, build it, and the first time they were seeing that was when they were either in UAT or we were demoing to them once we'd built. Well, naturally, that caused us quite a lot of problems, and we didn't mean that. That wasn't what we meant by that requirement. So we actually spent quite a lot of time going back and sort of rebuilding, re-engineering to sort of get to what they need. So this, again, has been a great sort of tool for us to be able to go out to our colleagues and go, this is what you mean, this is what, and we can even, what we do intend to do is start to even push that out to even our colleagues to sort of be really testing that, to understand, is this the right flow for us? Is this going to give you the best opportunity to spend more time with your customer rather than staring at a screen? So it's those sort of things that are really going to help us to really understand the sort of needs of our colleagues that's going to help them best deal with their customers.
Yeah, thank you. And then just focusing on some of the unique challenges. Who here is involved in creating web experiences, explicitly web experiences? A few of you. There's a few of our folks that should be putting their hands up as well. But anyway, after working together with Faye, I've realised how easy web experiences are compared to in-store experiences. So there's lots of unique constraints about a physical store that's very much more complex, including connectivity to the internet when data centers are down, etc. But also things like device integration, the specialist testing equipment, printers, point of sales devices. There's a lot of complexities around that you don't often see on the web exclusively. And then you've got the whole challenge of web migration and how to move all of these across. So how are we going to look at developing this solution? We built it on these brilliant architectural principles that came up with by Specsavers architects. It's very much collaboration between us and Specsavers teams. And we looked at how we could adopt cloud innovation. And these are some of the tools that we picked up along the way. Some of the techies in the room will be quite familiar with a lot of them, but we're really future-proofing a lot of the tooling and the processes that we did in order to get engineering built and then released into the various environments and markets that we needed to. And that included a really sensible, efficient path to live, including the various test environments, the various UAT environments. We didn't want to release something that was not ready or fit for purpose for global scale, because that would be pointless. It would just be, exploding upon us later. So what did that mean for the business when we started releasing this?
So when we first set out with this programme, we really wanted to sort of set ourselves some goals on the things that we really wanted to achieve. So I'm not going to go through all of the sort of points that we've covered on this slide, but I think one of the biggest challenges was, and I sort of touched on it earlier, was that we've got these 10 platforms in our estates now. We can't, if we need to react to a market change or something like that, it would take us a long time to sort of get around all of those sort of systems and then update them to that, and also it would cost a lot of money as well. So one of the things that has been great with this product that we've got now is that we've been live for nearly a year now in Republic of Ireland. We are releasing every 2 weeks to that market, so we're really able to sort of just respond super quick to the sort of feedback that we're getting back from the stores. So if that turns out to be, that feature's great, but it'd be great if it could do that, we can respond to that as well. Or if there is issues that are undoubtedly caused by releases, we can sort of respond to those really quickly as well, which has been fantastic. Republic of Ireland are on a system that wasn't really updated at all in the past, so the partners in those regions are absolutely loving it because they're just seeing constant change. That does come with its own challenges, from a market that's had no change to sort of seeing that regular change as well. So we've also had to do quite a bit of business change and get them over that curve of that sort of regular release cycle that we're doing. We looked at improved work-life balance. At the moment, our main goal is to make sure that our customers have the best experience at Specsavers as they can. But that does mean that, there's quite a bit of admin overhead when our shops close. That could be sorting out our diaries, could be dealing with our NHS claims. All of that stuff takes quite a long time to do, and sort of make sure that we're efficiently managing that. So we've looked at things, so with the new product, for example, our colleagues can log in from home. So if they want to do the diary of a glass of wine, which I think is definitely required at night, then they can do. And that is such a massive difference for those guys at the moment. We also wanted a greener solution. What we find in a lot of our markets is colleagues still print out a lot of information and they make lots of notes and things. So we've really designed this product now to sort of be really clear so that we don't have to print out. You can make the notes in the system and carry on. And it might seem like such a small difference, to make, but that was a really big difference for our stores. And deeper insights as well, from the fact that we've got a product that has got fantastic monitoring on, so we can see, what in terms of what's successful, what's not. We can also see, the insights that are coming in from the colleagues. We're getting a regular drumbeat of feedback from those guys as well, which is absolutely brilliant for us, especially in the product space, to be able to sort of get that quick feedback and react and respond to that is just fantastic.
And we've seen loads of governance and user management improvements that we've also gained. So also dealing with real-time data, being a lot more data-driven in general, giving users the access that they need as they need it, controlling releases, we've talked about that, and then standardizing and managing the product across multiple regions and time zones. And we've seen many more benefits as well, including improvements in infrastructure costs. We talked about observability there and rollouts. And this is what some of the store owners are saying.
So I just wanted to put some sentiments up really from some of the sort of feedback that we're getting from the partners. From a point of getting to the point when these guys have been on systems that are sort of 20 years old, not getting anything, to sort of be getting feedback such as this from a system that they're on at the moment, which could be mostly paper-based, to move into this. It was great to see that even on day one of deploying to a store, we're still getting such great feedback back from them. So I think really it's a testament to sort of the collaboration that we've had with BJSS to sort of get to this point. I think the learnings that we've got along the journey in the last 2.5 years has been fantastic, and the insights and the recommendations that the BJSS bring to us to sort of suggest to us different ways of working that we perhaps haven't done before has been fantastic, and it's great to see that paying off in our stores.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we said, it's not easy to actually see these programs through. And we've been able to do that. And we're not breaking out for a table discussion. However, when we have a break later, if you'd like to think about this sort of question to ask each other, that would be really good and really interesting. So what major transformation programs have you either seen or any that you think might be needed to reach your business goals? I'm sure you can think of a few, and it would be really good later to discuss that as we're networking. So yeah, thanks very much for listening. Myself and Faye will be around. If you've got any questions, please do come and ask us.